Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar titled Mastering 21 CFR Part 312, Navigating the Investigational New Drug Application Process and Beyond. We are delighted to have you here with us today. My name is Adela Kadrick, Brand and Communications Senior Manager at Ergomed. It's truly a pleasure to be your host for this insightful session. First, I'd like to run through a couple quick housekeeping matters. We expect this webinar presentation to run for approximately 45 minutes, allowing for a short amount of time for questions and answers at the end. We would also like to welcome our listeners to send us questions at any point throughout the presentation. You can do so by typing them into the Q&A section available on your screen. If you would like a recording of this webinar or the PDF slide deck, please let us know as well. I am thrilled to introduce our two distinguished expert speakers who will be guiding us through this webinar. Laura Stevanato is the Regulatory Affairs Associate Director of Biologics ATMP at Ergomed. With over 20 years in pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, she has led regulatory efforts for more than 10 cell and gene therapy products, securing approval across the US, Europe, UK, and Canada, especially for rare genetic diseases and pediatric trials. Mel Pooler is Regulatory Affairs Manager at Ergomed. With over 15 years in the CRO industry, she is an expert in regulatory submissions and project management for investigational products in the US, Canada, and the UK, with extensive experience in the IND process with regulatory compliance. I will now let our first speaker take over.
Hello, everyone. The agenda for this presentation is as follows. We will provide an introduction to the regulatory 21 CFR 312. This would be the IND regulatory overview, the application process, format and content, maintenance, including safety reporting, and lastly, we will address some questions. As far as the IND, we will be going through a few definitions to be familiar with terminology throughout the presentation. IND stands for Investigational New Drug, which is covered in the regulations under 21 CFR Part 312. The primary purpose of the IND is to review data regarding the medicinal product to ensure no participant is exposed to harm nor significant risk of illness or injury. Clinical investigation refers to an experiment in which a drug is given to one or more human subjects. The subject can be a healthy human or a patient with a disease study. Sponsor refers to the individual, company, or entity responsible for the initiation and oversight of clinical trials and ensuring participant safety, data integrity, and regulatory compliance throughout the trial process. Clinical Research Organization, CRO, is a company that can perform any aspect of the trial delegated by the sponsor. Active IND provides FDA permission to lawfully ship drug or biologic across state lines for the purpose of conducting clinical investigation of that drug. For the purpose of this presentation, we will cover commercial IND and research IND, the FDA division CBER and CDER. CBER stands for Center of Biologics Evaluation and Research. CDER stands for Center for Drug Evaluation and Research. Within the name CBER, you can hear biologics. Within the name CDER, you can hear another name, drug. So that entails what these divisions would be reviewing. There are cases where the IND would not be needed to be filed, which is called an IND exemption. This will not be covered in our presentation today. An IND is submitted to the FDA if the sponsor intends to conduct clinical trials. The clinical trials cannot be started until the IND goes into effect. for step 1 in our IND process, this is where the sponsor conducts the research and development. Step 2 is when the formal meetings with the FDA will occur. Step 3, the IND application is prepared. Step 4, the IND submission to the FDA and the submission to the IRB can occur in parallel. In step 5, the FDA provides the study may proceed letter. And step 6, the IND maintenance and safety reporting occurs. There are formal meetings available during the IND process. These formal meetings allow FDA to address specific sponsor questions. The pre-IND meeting, also referred to as the Type B meeting, is one of the formal meeting types. There is one Type B meeting per IND application. The formal meeting formats are face-to-face, teleconference video, or written response only. With that name, written response only, the FDA provides their response only in written form. There isn't a face-to-face or video meeting. From the FDA perspective, there are benefits to having a pre-IND meeting, such as identifying and avoiding unnecessary studies, gaining FDA support, minimizing costs, and of course, the early interaction with the FDA is key. The pre-IND timeline. So at day 1, FDA receives the meeting request. By day 21, FDA confirms the meeting and schedules the meeting date within 60 days. By day 30, the briefing book is submitted to the FDA. 2 to 3 days before the meeting, the FDA will provide their preliminary responses. If the FDA has addressed all the questions adequately and the sponsor does not need to meet with the FDA, then the meeting can be canceled. Otherwise, sponsor will provide feedback to the FDA project manager regarding which questions will be discussed during the meeting. On day 60, the pre-IND meeting occurs. And then 30 days after the pre-IND meeting, the FDA will provide the formal meeting minutes. For CBER, this is the Biologics Division, the study tracking number is requested by sending an email to the noted email address on this slide. This cannot be done earlier than 4 weeks before the target submission date. The request should include the sponsor's name and address, primary point of contact name and phone number, the biologic product name, indication, and the anticipated submission date. For CDER, the drug division, the IND number can be requested via email or the CDER NextGen portal. The request via email should include the sponsor's name and address, primary point of contact, name and phone number, the biologic product name, indication, and the anticipated submission date. With the NextGen portal, the applicant would need to register and then submit via the portal. FDA receives the IND application and it is assessed for completeness. The regulatory project manager is assigned and is the main point of contact with the FDA. The reviewers are assigned for each discipline. The acknowledgement letter or email will be provided by the regulatory project manager. The acknowledgement includes the date the FDA received the application. This is the date the sponsor should use to calculate when the IND would go into effect. The Form FDA 1571 is a list of IND contents. As you can see here, the General Investigational Plan, protocol, the chemistry, manufacturing, and control, and so forth. At the website indicated, there are forms, FDA forms, that can be used in the application throughout the IND lifecycle. At the top of the list would be the Form FDA 1571, and so forth. The Form FDA 1572, the 3674. Now I can turn the presentation over to Lara.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lara Stevanato, and I will take over of the IND content module structure. The IND content module structure is based on the Electronic Common Technical Documents, or ECT, developed by the International Council for Harmonization, or ICH. The ECTD provides a standardized structure for submitting regulatory information related to an investigational medicinal product. By providing a well-defined list of sections and subsections, the ECTD helps applicants understanding exactly where to place each piece of required information, aiding efficient regulatory bodies review and facilitating future updates. With each module and associated section clearly outlining applicants can more effectively meet regulatory expectations and avoid common pitfalls in submission organization. The ECTD is accepted worldwide and facilitates submission across multiple regions. In the following slides, we will look at each module's titles and requirements to illustrate how this structure guides applicants in preparing comprehensive compliance submission. Module 1 is also named Administrative Module. This module is not included in the ECTD format. It is a region-specific module and include administrative information and specific requirement for the country or region to which an applicant is submitted the application. Each region, such as US, Europe, or Japan, may have different guidelines for this module. For an IND application, Module 1 includes cover letter, also called Form FDA 1571, Form FDA 3674, Introductory Statement or General Investigational Plan, Investigator Brochure, Environmental Assessment or Claim for Category Exclusion, Labeling, or other administrative information. Module 2 instead covers a summary of all the other modules. The summary are important because they aid the regulatory body in reviewing and have a clear understanding of the investigation drugs quality, safety, and efficacy from the beginning without unnecessary detail. Each summary should capture the core finding and in a straightforward manner. The information in Module 2 must accurately reflect the more detailed data and report provided in Module 3, 4, and 5. This alignment helps create a seamless experience for reviewers, allowing them to cross-reference without encountering discrepancy. The overview focuses on the data most critical to support the drug safety and efficacy. This means prioritizing the key findings and ensuring that your submission meet regulatory expectations. Finally, the overview should discuss strengths, but also addressing any weakness or area of improvement proactively and demonstrating of a balanced assessment of the investigational drug potential. The overall Module 2 structure is the following one. Introduction to the summary, quality overall summary, non-clinical overview, clinical overview, non-clinical written and tabulated summary, and clinical summary. Module 3, also named the quality module, it is structured to present the body of data of the drug substance and drug product. This module contains detailed information about manufacturing, characterization, control, reference standard, container closure, and stability. Furthermore, it includes manufacturing and pharmaceutical developments. Module 4 instead covers for the non-clinical study reports and specifically report on pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and toxicology, and any literature references. Finally, Module 5 covers clinical study report, protocol for each planned study, literature references, principal investigator CV, form the FDA 1572, and informed consent. In case of an IND related to cell and gene therapy product, some key consideration need to be taken for this type of product. These biologics require a distinct regulatory approach compared to traditional drug therapy due to their complexity and unique risk. The FDA, which provides specialized guidance documents tailored for this therapy. Given the rapid advances in cell and gene therapy, staying current on this guidance document is essential, as they will help compliance and guide safe, effective development. For CGT product, the manufacturing process must be highly detailed with robust quality control to ensure consistency, safety, and effectiveness of the product. For gene therapy, in particular, long-term follow-up is required to monitor any delay adverse effect that could arise over time. Along this, patient monitoring plans need to include regular check-ins to detect any off-target effect or immunoresponses, which can be particularly serious with cell and gene therapy product. CGT can present regulatory hurdle as a rapid evolving field, and regulatory expectations are continuously updated as new challenges and solutions emerge. To navigate this landscape effectively, developer must stay informed about evolving guidelines and expectations from the FDA. Thanks for your attention. Mel will now cover the remaining part of the webinar.
Thank you, Lara. So during the 30-day review of the IND application, the FDA may have questions. There is a specified time to provide response to the FDA request for information. Once the FDA reviewers have completed the IND review, the study may proceed letter will be issued or the application will be placed on clinical hold. The regulatory project manager will provide this communication. The clinical hold is an order issued by the FDA to the sponsor to delay or suspend a clinical trial. A clinical hold is issued when there is unreasonable and significant risk of injury or illness. IND does not contain sufficient information. The regulatory project manager notifies the sponsor via phone call or email of this clinical hold. The FDA will meet with the sponsor to attempt to resolve the issues. When the clinical hold is formally issued, the sponsor may address the clinical hold issues by responding with a complete response to all issues, and the FDA will review within 30 days. If the FDA finds the issues have been addressed completely, the study may proceed letter will be issued and the clinical trial can commence upon receipt of the study may proceed letter. The study may proceed letter indicates the IND is active. At this time, the IND will require periodic updates such as protocol amendments, information amendments, annual reports. The sponsor may elect to close the IND at some point by withdrawing the IND or requesting inactive status. Termination is an act accomplished by the FDA only. As part of the IND maintenance, safety reporting is submitted in the eCTD format. Currently, the safety reports are submitted with cover letter if it is the choice of the sponsor, along with a 1571 and the MedWatch forms. However, it is important to note that April 1, 2026, the format changes from eCTD to E2B R3. And this will be a standardized format for electronic transmission of these forms of the safety information. Now, I would like to turn this over to Adela.
Thank you very much, Lara and Mel, for a very helpful and informative presentation. Now it's time for our Q&A session. Our first question reads, what are the benefits of using the eCTD format for the compilation of Model 3?
Hi, Adele, it's Lara. Thanks for the question. I will take it. The eCTD structure helps organize an extensive chemistry manufacturing control body of data by providing a detailed breakdown of the information required to assess product quality, purity, and safety. It also supports the applicant in meeting regulatory submission requirements. Furthermore, it facilitated the updating process and review of required data, such as update during the drug development, including new information obtained from stability study, manufacturing changes, or analytical methods. Back to you, Adele.
Thank you, Lara. Our next question will be, how long does it take to prepare the initial IND?
Hi, Adela, I can take that. This is Mel. So it depends. I would say that if everything is pretty straightforward, pretty standard drug, and no complexities, then it could take at least 3, maybe even 4 months to prepare. We have to keep in mind that there are a lot of authors and a lot of pieces moving around that need to be put together in an orderly fashion. So it can take up to maybe 3 to 4 months, but it can also be quicker, just depending on how things roll together as a team. Back to you, Adela.
Thank you for that, Mel. Our final question for today is, what are the main challenges when preparing the initial IND?
Hi, Adela, it's me again. Mel, I can take that question. I would say the it depends, and I think the timelines, a lot of times we have set in our mind like a target submission date, and that is definitely what we aim to do. However, sometimes we come up against unanticipated hurdles, and those things inevitably delay the submission date. So I would say it's the timeline itself that sometimes we want to keep to a target submission date, but most times we just need to be flexible. 2 to 3 days or a week pushing out a submission is better than submitting something in error. So yes, the many pieces that make up an IND definitely make it more complex to deal with. However, if we continue as a team working together, the many pieces of that IND do come together, of course, but in a timely and targeted submission date. We just need to be flexible to make that happen. Back to you, Adela.
Thank you very much once more, Laura and Mel, for sharing your expertise and insights with us today. Unfortunately, this is all the time we have for questions. I'd like to extend our gratitude to our wonderful speakers and our engaged audience. Rest assured, we will take the time to reply via email to all outstanding questions, ensuring that no query goes unanswered. As a reminder, this webinar will soon be available to watch on demand inside the Ergomed resource website section. So, if you'd like to revisit any part of today's session or share with your colleagues, it will be at your fingertips. This concludes our webinar session. Thank you very much for joining us today, and until next time.